Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to talk about something today that impacts all of our lives quite frequently, I would have to say, depending on who you are. And many times we be in a situation with somebody and you just say, all right, fine, whatever you say. All right. Or you were supposed to, somebody asked you to go somewhere and you really don't want to go, but you're like, all right, I'll be there. I'll just show up. You really don't want to do that. What happens when we give in? Goes against what we're potentially thinking about. Lots of different things to identify here, but I have a strong belief that she's going to peel layers back very deeply and reveal a lot of things about ourselves when we give in. She's an amazing psychotherapist. So great to have her back with us. Susie Engel is back on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Eager to learn about this because now you're making me think. And we did not prior discuss this. We just jumped into this podcast with this concept. What happens when we give in? And I'm trying to look at it from all angles. But what's coming up for me is we're giving something up from ourselves when we give in. I don't see it any other way. Should I be looking at it any other way?
No, I like that initial maybe body response. If I give in, I'm giving something of myself. And a lot of times in trauma therapy or general therapy, EMDR therapy, we talk about being overly responsible at my expense. At my expense is, what am I giving up within myself by giving in? And by the way, this conversation is probably going to fraction off into discussions about adult relationships, discussions about parenting children, and work relationships. And I think that that's a great body feel to be able to say, gee, at this point in my life, when I give in, I'm giving a part of myself, or there's some sort of expense to me or payoff, or not payoff in a rewarding way, but payoff in, it just doesn't sit right. So, yeah.
Well, I was trying to look at it in not a negative light, but I'm not finding it yet. Because,
okay, so if we give in and we say, oh, we don't want to be negative, then we're not giving in. We're compromising, we're negotiating, we're debating. That's not giving in. Giving in is, somebody says something that doesn't sit well with you and we don't speak up. That's giving in. Or a child throws a tantrum. I'm not talking about a 2-year-old because we expect that from a 2-year-old, but a child who's 4 years old, 6 years old, 15 years old, when they have a tantrum about something, where do you think that has come from? It's because when they were 2, we did give in, or we did try to make them feel better, and that's just not sustainable. Because it strengthens something unhealthy in the other person, and we're continuously giving away a chunk of ourselves.
So
make sense?
100%. And people pleasing comes into play here in some of the give-in situations. Got to believe that. Again, so hey, can you help me move on Saturday? I really need some help. And you're thinking, well, I was gonna take a drive to the beach and just relax. I really need to relax, but yes, I'll be there. What time? 7:30 a.m. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. I'll bring some boxes. Hey, no problem. You don't really want to do that. Are you giving in that situation?
Well, I don't know. That would be up to discussion, right? Because maybe there's a part of me that says, you know what? The person's moving. I'm offering. I must have offered for a reason. Um, Maybe that's not giving in, but think about adult relationships. Think about when somebody, I don't know, just like let's talk about an extreme example. What if an adult in our lives was irresponsible with money or with spending historically? And at the start of it, it's a learning curve for somebody. We can be understanding or empathetic about it. But if the person is irresponsible financially and then comes to us repeatedly, whether needing a ride because that person doesn't maintain their car, or whether needing money or cash or a little help temporarily, if we are giving into that, what does that result in? And this is the broad question, whether we're talking about children or adults, because what is it resulting in? First of all, it's colluding. It's not setting a boundary for me,
Mm, hmm.
which is I'm losing a chunk of myself. Secondly, it's teaching this person with just regular conditioning that it's okay to be irresponsible and to run to me when you need extra help, and I'm going to open up my wallet, or I'm going to give you a ride, and that's time out of my schedule. But if I say, I understand your circumstances, and I'm sure you'll work it out in figuring out your money issues or insecurities or your car problems, but it's really your job to take care of that.
Well, sure. And I'm still processing this, giving in. You normally would not have said yes. That's where I'm coming from. That person that asked you to help them move, of course, you want to do what you can, but that's not what you wanted to do today. They have plenty of friends. Let's say they always ask you, and that's not what you wanted to do. So you gave up your boundary and people pleaser potential
Yeah, for
situation.
sure.
And you
Yeah.
just said, yeah, I'll be there. You gave in. And I think
Yes.
giving in is going against your feelings, intuition, your gut feeling,
Yes.
all of that. Same thing where your kid is, can we do this or can I do that? I really want, no, 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 that's that. We can't do that. And then eventually you say, all right, I'll let you do it this time. You gave in, so you gave up a piece of your, I mean, essentially a piece of you because you said to them, you gave up, even though it doesn't compromise you personally to say to your kid, all right, you can do it. But that was established in your mind already. You said no. You
Well,
gave in.
and I think that does give up something within ourselves
I agree.
with children, straight up, because
I agree.
it's it's teaching the child that when we say something, it may not be as empowering as it could have been. And
Hmm.
it's also teaching the child something in lines of helplessness. What if the child is disorganized? That's fine. That's fine. And says, "Oh, can you help me find my book? Can you help me find my sneaker?" I remember when I have a memory from losing my sneaker, but ordinarily I didn't lose things because my parents taught us, you know, keep structure, keep some sort of semblance of organization step by step. They taught us that so it wasn't an overwhelming task. It was just a day-to-day thing that we just kept track of our things. But I remember one time my mother was sick and my aunt was taking us or me to Cape Cod with my cousins. And my father helped me look around the house for my sneaker that was under my bed. And he was very good natured about it because it wasn't the norm. All of us were pretty organized and pretty structured. But if we keep giving in to, oh, yes, I'll help you find this. I'll look under all the couch cushions. I'll make sure your backpack is packed with everything you need today. It's teaching the child uh, disorganization, but also helplessness. And I am
Mm.
very, very straight about that. Like, I don't think that it serves a good purpose to give in to a child. I don't think we have to get into a power struggle. But if I said no at the start, I don't keep answering because that's banter.
Well, you're enabling too, by when it comes to a
And
child or
enabling.
even adult. So here's the question: how do you differentiate between compromise and giving in?
Well, I think it's a body feel. I mean, I think that there's a demarcation. If somebody um, tantrums, if an adult acts a little aggressive and I were to give in, I think that that is um, not compromise. I think that that's straight up somewhere inside of me. I'm having a stress response
Mm.
and I'm giving in. I don't want the kid to escalate, or we've discussed this before too. For some reason, somewhere in my mind's eye, I think it's my job to keep my child happy, which we've discussed is maladaptive. That's just unsustainable. Um, that's not compromise, that's giving in, and that's going against my um, boundaries, my values. And really, in personal relationships, why do you think codependence happens? Because
Mm.
one person is primed to give in. One person is primed to enable. You use the word enable, and that's perfect for this conversation. And what good comes of it? Addiction?
Mm.
Aggression?
Mm.
Somebody not being accountable, somebody not being their best version of themselves. Uh-uh. I don't think there's confusion about compromise and giving in.
All
I
right,
think
well,
it's
let's
clear.
let's 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 dissect that. So, and I'm trying to think of a scenario that can illustrate that, where you compromised. Um, are you?
It doesn't, hey, listen, if we compromise, it doesn't feel as badly.
Well, I
It's,
agree, but fundamentally, is there a piece of you giving in, no matter what? So if you said no, and then the conversation continued in the
oh,
situation, and
yeah.
then you said, or you both
Hmm.
agreed, oh, okay, well, what if we do this?
That's,
This is piece of
yeah.
works for you, piece works for you. I'm wondering if there was giving
Well,
in a way.
if my first reaction to a question, whether it's an adult or child, is no, if that person said, I wonder if we could find a way to discuss this because I'm not sure if you're seeing the whole picture, then I like that. That opens my mind
Hmm.
and I am open to some sort of discussion. Or I really am like very clear about absolutely no. Like I'm saying no, I really mean no, and I'm not discussing it. So there I am, no compromise, not giving in. Or, but if a person just says, oh, whatever the request is, it really doesn't matter. And I initially say no, and that person really does say, I wonder if there's a way we could be more open-minded about this or discuss this. I like that. I like that. I like that. I think that that person is not tantruming and is not being demanding and is not expecting me,
Hmm.
maybe it were my pattern to give in, not expecting me to go back on my word, but really saying, look, can we discuss this in a different way? Or, are you open to some sort of thought, uh, some way for us to work around this. That's a different that that's different than somebody demanding and somebody else taking on the role of giving in. Do you get it? Does it make sense?
Yeah. So, how about this example? You are in a business, it's a partnership, and your partner wants to purchase this new equipment or inventory. And you say, I don't think that's a good idea. It's been a little slow this quarter. I really don't think we should be spending the money on that right now. And they're saying, no, but this will help us grow. We really need to get that. That piece of equipment will be fundamental to growing the business. You said no initially, they're still at it. And then you come back and say, okay, instead of buying the $10,000 piece of equipment, what if we bought the $4,000 piece of equipment? Maybe we have to work a little harder, but maybe that would do it. Did you give in?
Yeah, or maybe we're going to buy the $10,000 one because we both, as partners theoretically
Yeah,
equals,
yeah.
especially in business, maybe let's work around this hard no, I'm saying. What, how would we grow our business because of this piece of equipment? Let's really look at all the opportunities because I get this. Then it's not just let's spend, spend, spend. Then it turns into, okay, so this is an investment that's going to pay us back.
But
And
wait, but whoa,
that's,
whoa, whoa, one moment here. You said no initially. You said no,
yeah,
no. So are you giving in? It sounds like a compromise. The compromise is we don't spend 10 grand, we spend 4 grand. Of course, we split it because we're partners. But initially, you said no. So is that? Are you giving in because you said no? Right away, your instinct said, "This has been it's a tough quarter," and I guess you found a compromise in that. But ultimately, was there a piece of you
was
that
that
gave
giving?
in?
Yeah, that's a question. So then I think it has a lot to do with the other person. If the other person is really presenting like an early adolescent or pre-adolescent or somebody who's just gotten very skilled at having a tantrum and is presenting as demanding without sensibility to business, then clearly I gave in. And it's going to come back and hurt me at my expense. I
Mm,
gave in.
yes.
But if that person maturely and in a regulated way, I mean, I guess this is the litmus test to a lot of things. If that person came after the first hard no and said, gee, this is how I was looking at it with this business perspective. What do you think about that? I guess that's more compromise because the person's not bulldozing, the person's not tantruming, the person's actually regulated and saying there might be other angles to look at this. And I like that. I'm okay with that. I don't think that that's giving in.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I really think it's a little piece of giving in though, because you
a
said
little
no
piece.
initially.
Well, and so, yes. And so then I'll have to look at myself and why did I say no without
Okay. Well, all right. There's
thinking it through? Maybe I'm reactive.
okay, as opposed to being proactive, you're reactive, but I think it came from somewhere. Your initial response was,
Yeah,
and usually, I kind of pilot on that. What the first thing you thought of was like, no, bad idea. We're not doing well.
yeah,
Not a great quarter. I
yeah,
understand, we want to grow, whatever.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
I,
agree. I agree. I
hmm,
agree with that. I agree. Like my first gut reaction is usually not wrong. The
yeah.
problem is there are all sorts of scenarios where maybe we have to demonstrate some sort of open-mindedness, but it doesn't mean but I agree. It doesn't mean we need to compromise. I think the big takeaway of this conversation has to be this. If you're unhappy with a colleague, with a partner in life, with a husband, wife, spouse, with peers, with friends, with children, take a good look if you're contributing to, a lot of my clients say, oh, I don't like his behaviors or her behaviors, air quotes I'm saying, because behaviors really are expression. People are expressing themselves. If you're unhappy with other people's patterns, look at your own pattern of giving in. That would be my culmination of our conversation today.
I am going to say, in my journey, which has been more hyper-focused on what I do, how I do it, spirituality, healing, all of this in the last, 5 years, I can honestly say I give in less. I give in less. Doesn't mean I don't do it, but I think I think of it differently in terms of the giving in. And, example, I have a friend who has an RV, luxury RV. He got it, did a favor for somebody. So he's got it for like 3 days. So he threw it out there. Let's go upstate and we'll do this and we'll do that. And all the other friends, all a guy trip. Let's do this. And originally I'm on board for it, but then the information is sketchy. The contribution for gas and tolls. It's like, and normally I would just like, oh, I'll just go. No, I said, I'm not going. Yeah.
Not my gig.
Yeah.
Good.
And love you guys. Have a great time. Not what I really want to do. I don't want to go upstate. Take me down to the shore somewhere. I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
I'm just not feeling it. Normally I would just like, well, you know what? I'll just go along with it. And like, I don't want to do it.
So,
I want to do it.
Giving in is remedied by trusting yourself, doing what you know is best for yourself, and setting a boundary, and also not feeling badly about it.
I don't at all.
No guilt. Yeah.
And I'm not the only one. The others invited on the trip are all saying the same exact thing. We need details. Like, how do you know it's X amount of dollars per man when you don't know who's going? What are the sleeping arrangements? Me and my friends were like, I'm not sleeping in a bed with somebody else.
5-star hotel.
No, a nice RV, but at the same time, it's just like, and I could give in and just say, I'll just go. I feel bad, but I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to go. But the other me would have said, I'll suck it up. Let's just go. I want everybody to be happy. Interesting conversation. It's funny how sometimes we approach these with no conversation prior. We just dig into it. But a lot of different things came up here today about giving in, compromise, enabling, and all of that. This is what you do. You allow us to look at things in a different way. Your website is Susan Engel, ENGEL LCSW.com, right?
Correct. Nice
beautiful
job.
Yeah, and you can work with anybody anywhere. Starts with a conversation. Thank you for today. Very, very interesting. It really was. It really was.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, we'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.